Maybe you have felt exhausted at the end of the day, even when it looks like you did not get anything done. It's not because you weren't productive. It might be because you were carrying this level of mental and emotional work that is not visible. And that kind of work, it's real. It counts even when no one else sees it. Welcome back to Nature to Nurture. My name is Tiffany and I'm your host. And this right here is a space where I talk all about caregiving, childhood, and family life through the specific lens of connection, nature, and community. I truly believe that children can thrive when the adults who are caring for them are supported, when they are regulated, and when they are connected not just to their children, but to the systems, the rhythms, the community that make family life sustainable. And today we're going to be talking about something that many of us experience, but we don't always name. We're going to be talking about the invisible work of caring for children. There is something about caregiving that usually goes unseen, and it's not the obvious things. It's not the meals, it's not the cleaning, the driving, the routines, but it's that work that is happening underneath all of it. It is the thinking that you're doing, the noticing, the remembering of the little details, that constant awareness that's running in the background like a consistent buzz or a drip, drip, drop, right? It's things like remembering that a school form needs to be signed before tomorrow morning, or noticing that your child's off for some weird reason and you're not exactly sure what's going on, but you need to pin it down. It's thinking about the meals combined with the schedules and the transitions and everything that needs to be done, and holding all of that quietly while you still take care of everything you have to take care of during your day. Oftentimes, no one else sees that layer, but it is there, and it is work. That mental load of caregiving, it's not just physical. It is extremely mental. And there is this constant layer of tracking that you are doing throughout the day. You're thinking about the schedules, food, clothing, emotions, health, development, social, financial, and so much of this work is invisible because it only lives in your mind. It doesn't show up as something that you can just check off a list, but it's ongoing. Part of the reason why this work feels so heavy is because oftentimes it isn't fully recognized. Care work has historically been treated as something that just happens, especially when we're talking about families, right? Because it does just happen. Especially when we're talking about moms, those primary caregivers. It's happening in every home, and so we expect that it's just natural. We should all just know how to do it. And it's happening in these private spaces where it's overlooked, where we don't see what these caregivers are actually holding. But when you really look at what caregiving includes, it becomes obvious how much skill is actually involved. There's planning, problem solving, emotional acuity, adaptability, guidance strategies. You are constantly making decisions that support the well-being of others, not just yourself. And that's not small work, even if it's not always named that way. When we look at elderly caregivers, they are trained professionals. Aren't parents doing the same hard work of caregiving? And then let's add on one more layer, the emotional labor of caregiving. Parents and caregivers are constantly helping their children to navigate their inner world and the outer world. They are comforting and coaching and holding space for big feelings, helping children to understand frustration, disappointment, excitement, and fear. And they're doing that while also managing their own emotions, even emotions that come up while they're trying to help support the children that they're caring for, right? And doing that while managing your own emotions, that is one of the parts that really does feel the most invisible, because there is not a physical trace, but it does take energy and presence and capacity. And when that emotional labor is happening all day long, it leaves caregivers feeling depleted, even when the day didn't look busy on the outside. I think this is a really important moment to pause. And I just want to restate that I've been there, and maybe you have too. Maybe you have felt exhausted at the end of the day, even when it looks like you did not get anything done. It's not because you weren't productive. It might be because you were carrying this level of mental and emotional work that is not visible. And that kind of work, it's real. It counts even when no one else sees it. I've been there. I have had times where I'm at home all day with my children. And it's a lot. And my husband can come home and say, "Doesn't look like you did anything today." Ooh, and I can feel it, right? I'm sure you just felt that too, because it's like, no, you don't know everything that happened today. It's real work. And I think this next part is really going to be helpful for you, because we can't just sit in that work is always invisible. We need to show up, and we need to actually start shifting the way that we're thinking about help and shared responsibility. Help can look supportive, but a lot of times this help, it still means that one person is holding the mental load. They are the ones who are noticing what needs to happen. They're the ones who are planning it, managing it, and then they're asking for help, right? But sharing responsibility, that looks different. It means that multiple people are holding awareness. And when that shift happens, the invisible work, it starts to feel more balanced. And it's not because the work disappears, but it's because it no longer needs to be carried by one person alone. I want to challenge you to shift how you're coming at yourself. Oftentimes we say, how can I manage all of this better? And I've been there. I have jumped on the train to figure out every way to manage everything that's in my head. And there are some things that help, right? I've shared with you guys before, I've used the Systemize Your Life program from Chelsea Joe, which is amazing. And that's a great framework to help you. However, that's not shifting responsibility, right? That is creating systems. And so instead of saying, how can I figure this out? I want you to say, how can this be shared? How can this be supported? How can this work that I'm doing be made more visible? Because once that invisible work becomes visible, it becomes something that can actually be understood by those around you, and it can be supported. Now let's talk about 4 ways that I want you to start making this invisible work visible today. The first one here is to start noticing your invisible work. Simply begin paying attention to the mental and the emotional work happening in your day. Name it. It matters. I have a free resource that I'm linking down in the show notes, and I have a list of over 100 different examples of invisible work, and I encourage you to go ahead and take a look at that and circle the ones that you know that you are also doing. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to start talking about this mental load that you're holding. Have conversations about what you're carrying behind the scenes And it's not from a place to blame someone, but it's from a place of clarity and understanding. One quick example, it was time to schedule parent-teacher conferences, and I asked my husband, what time can you do this conference? And he said, I don't know, whatever time works for you. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I need some times that really actually work for you so I can figure out my work, I can figure out the kids' activities, I can figure out how we're getting there, making sure that you're present, all of these things. When I was able to explain that I was juggling all of this, he was able to help me and support and share that responsibility rather than just help again. There's another fun game that I will also link in the episode for you guys to check out if you want to, that talks about sharing responsibilities within your house. So I will send that. That is also helpful. And the next thing I want you to do is I want you to start practicing appreciation out loud. Acknowledging care work, especially the invisible parts, often helps people to feel seen. And feeling seen changes how the work is experienced. And so I want you to talk out loud about the things that you're able to figure out. And step number 4, not just talking about what you are figuring out and holding on the high level, but also talking about how other people are doing that. Care work is happening all around us. We have teachers, childcare providers, family members, community members. Extend that recognition of care beyond your home. Recognizing that work really will help us to shift how we as a community, as a collective, value caregiving. Today, we focused on recognizing the invisible work of caring for your children. But there's one more important part of this conversation. What does it actually look like to share that work more sustainably? In the next episode, we're going to explore how families can really start to redistribute that mental and that emotional load of caregiving in ways that feel supportive and realistic. And if there's one thing that I hope you take away from today, it's this. Caring for children is real work. Work that is mental, emotional, physical, and deeply important. Even when much of it is happening behind closed doors. And when we begin recognizing that work in ourselves, in our families, in our communities, we begin creating environments where caregivers feel more supported. And when caregivers are supported, children thrive. If today's conversation really spoke to you, please make sure that you follow the podcast, share it with a friend. We are going to be continuing this conversation in the next episode, and I don't want you to miss it. I have also created a companion resource for this little mini series called the Calm Home Reset Guide. It's where you'll find that printable I talked about. It includes simple little reflections and practices to help you identify the invisible work you're carrying, begin shifting how that work is supported, and to help you in creating some sustainable rhythms for your home and your family. You can download it by simply joining our Nature to Nurture newsletter in the link in the show notes. That's a quick Friday email that I sent out to you with something for you to ponder on over the weekend. I thank you so much for being here, and I thank you for doing the deeply and often invisible work that you are doing caring for children.